Okay, welcome back to Boruto Anime Review, episode 183. 93, excuse me. This is reviewing the 193rd episode of anime, Coexistence. Okay, now this episode adapts from the rest of chapter 26 on page 9 all the way to the final page. And there is some changes here. Like some pretty big changes, including adding some characters who actually are not in the actual chapter itself. Yep. Most of the thing does present basically how it's presented. They make they make a lot of changes. They rearrange some stuff here. They change point of view, stuff like that. Now, in the case, basically, things are like, of course, Naruto explains who he is, and of course, well, they mentioned, oh yeah, now they do add in the whole thing of the Roton incident that happened last couple episodes. Yes, that was actually added in complete and original because that didn't happen in manga. So, while they have a conversation, meanwhile though, of course he tries to escape from the hospital room, of course stopped by Shikamaru like it is in the manga, and they did make a slight change here. Konohamaru briefly speaks to him. Yes. And of course there's some follow-up basically in the episodes of some other original content, which we'll get to that. And then we cut to Keitsuke getting the briefing about the Roton incident. In the manga, he didn't get to this at all. Nope, he didn't explain about the boy until a little bit later, because this actually is a change. Because he took the Roton incident first, then he talked about the boy, which interesting to say the least. Yes, because that happened in the anime, so why not? And also, some characters look a little different, per se. In the case of Gaara, who was actually in the chapter, no really change with him. Durai, there is a slight change to him per se. For one thing, he actually just has the mustache. He doesn't have the full facial hair. And Kurasuchi, she is not like the way she's been in the manga. In the manga, she's been like a very sexual woman. In the anime, she's presented how she normally is. Even though she's a little bit older per se, but it looks like she hasn't really changed that much since the actual war itself. And of course, it's agreed upon that they all discuss it, and of course, Naruto will be taking care of Kwanaki. Now, there is a couple bits of original content here. First of which, now in the actual chapter 4, Boruto comes home, you see him basically stop one of the buildings and look at his hand. That particular moment is never seen in the anime, because he first see Boruto in the episode, and that's not where we first see him. You actually first see him at the Thunderburger with Sadara Mitsuke. Yep, this actually is some original content. They chat for a bit, and of course, like thinks not gonna see him again. And he's like, I had to make an errand, and of course he goes to Mugido's place. Yes. Now, this is actually a follow-up to just prior to the start of the previous arc of the anime, which is the AO arc, where he actually visited his place, and he's there because he wants to feed Mugido's turtle. And of course, Konohamaru shows up, and of course explained that he's been here a couple times before. And, of course, mentioned that Mugido's dead because he got killed off about 3 episodes back. At least the anime made the character a lot more interesting than he has been in the manga. In the manga, he's just some random guy that just works with Konohamaru. In the anime, he's a fully fleshed out character. And the anime quite interesting, which good job, Para, for that. That was actually quite cool. And the fact also to be that Konohamaru decided to take, Mugido's turtle and adopt him. Because, he's just happily there, and of course, hardly someone to take care of him, so why not Konohamaru? And plus, he's good with turtles, because apparently Boruto is not really familiar with him. And of course, mentioned about the whole thing about his floor being rotted, which that was quite nice. And it looked like though Boruto was going to tell Konohamaru about the incident of how Mugido, when he first came to the village, how he knew, the third Hokage, but he decides not to. There's also another bit of original content where Naruto is talking to Shikamaru, where he also refers to the third Hokage as Grandpa Third. That is something he never referred to in the actual dub. No, he referred to him simply as the old man. Yep, it's a great bit of original content. And then we come to Naruto taking Kwanaki to his house. Of course, he doesn't know his name is Kwanaki. So, thinks I was, of course, we're taking me. He's taking my house. Yeah, my wife's cooking is delicious. And then, of course, figured. They actually made a slight little detour, basically, with a visual of this one. Where in the manga, I think it was his right eye was closed. In the anime, it's his left eye. And, of course, you have a brief chase sequence where first we have where Naruto runs him out of the fence. He does do this in the manga too, but they changed the word he says because according to the sub, he says "hey." In the manga, he says "yo." And he's on the roof, and of course he calms down, takes him home. There's also another slight bit of visual change where you don't see the full house like you do in the manga. You see the Uzumaki house in this episode. You just see it from the top. You don't see the front of it. And of course, they go inside and they have some tea. Now, here is some changes here. Oh boy, there's a lot of changes here. First, for instance, Hinata is not wearing the outfit she's wearing in the manga. Nope, she's wearing the outfit she's been wearing since the start of the anime. Himawari is actually more in this thing because in the manga she's like hiding from Kawanaki. In the manga she's actually in the kitchen with Hinata. Also, on the table there's nothing, absolutely nothing. What they did in the manga, there was a vase on the table. They moved it. Yes, they moved it to a different table. And of course they chat for a bit, which is quite nice. And now, what happens next in the actual manga itself is different, a little different than the actual anime itself. Which I like this presentation a lot better than I did in the manga. Because you have it where, like, Boruto comes home, they start arguing, and of course, tells him to calm down. And of course, he sits down, and then he gets up, flips over table. Now, in the manga, he rips over the eating table. In the manga, in the anime, he flips over the small table that he sits at in the actual manga itself. Also, the flower vase is on the table, and he gets smashed. Now, this is another change they make for the manga, where Himawari goes to see what was like. And of course, Boruto is like, "What's going on? Like, what happened? What's wrong, Himawari?" And she sees that the vase is broken. Hinata is a bit upset, but not as upset as Himawari, which I do like seeing this. This is actually a great change. I love this change from the actual manga itself, to where you see her facial expression, basically, of how she's very much upset. And of course, well, in the manga, when of course Kawanaki did this, when he flipped the table over, Naruto really goes to Kibe mode in the actual manga. In the anime, he doesn't do that. Nope, he doesn't, which I thought was kind of weird. And like I mentioned, make that for her mother's birthday. That was mentioned in the actual anime itself. And I like the fact that Himawari gets a little more to do in the actual episode of stuff in the actual manga chapter. She's in the manga chapter, but she has very little. You barely see a reaction from her over the vase being broken. In the anime, it's very well handled, like a lot better than presented in the manga. And of course, Boruto has no choice but, well, to accept Kawanaki living here. Oh, he says it's Kawanaki. It's my name. Remember it. And of course, the anime episode ends exactly how the manga ends, by Boruto calling him a freeloader. Yep. I gotta say, the episode did a fantastic job. I like the original content they throw in here because why not? There's nothing that said that basically that the stuff that presented in the actual episode actually happened, like could not happen from the actual manga itself. And I think that moving the vase from the kitchen table, the dining room table, over to this smaller table, that I thought was quite interesting. Also, in the actual manga itself, this was a glass table in the manga. In the anime, it's a regular wooden table that looks exactly the same, except there's no glass top on it. Yeah, they changed the regular wooden top and they flipped over, and that's how the vase gets broken. I thought this change actually made a lot more sense than basically having Naruto sit the table back over. Which, here's the thing. In the actual manga, now, the thing is, in the manga, I would say in the anime presented, Boruto's reaction to the vase being broken was actually a lot better handled than the actual manga itself. Yeah, a lot better handled. Yep. But yeah, absolute great episode, and I didn't mind the changes they made to the scene, which I think the changes helped, definitely. Now, if you're curious though, we're at 26. They just finished up at 26. Now, the way it looks for next week, it looks like maybe a random original content. I'm not sure. It's possible. Because it looks like, though, that the tease next one is that Boruto and Kawanaki fight over to use the bathroom. I am not kidding about that. That's seriously what they're fighting over. Yep. But this episode was really good. Thoroughly enjoyed it. And I prefer this over the actual chapter itself, though I thought it was kind of weird they didn't include... My guess is the reason why I decided not to include the Kiba mode, Naruto go into that particular mode, and that's just my personal theory, because he doesn't flip the table on Naruto like he does in the manga, so no reason for him to do that. Not necessarily. So because they would the change position of the face and of course change what table they flipped over means he didn't really need to exert any power. Not necessarily. I think the only power he used in the whole episode was Shadow Clone Jutsu. Oh yeah, they also added a really good original bit before Kawaii flips his table over, where Naruto and Boruto have a conversation in Naruto's office in the Uzumaki household. This particular scene is another complete anime original stuff, which this makes perfect sense. The fact they would have this conversation before the confrontation between Boruto and Kawanaki, because in manga it's like very quick. Oh yeah, also in the actual office itself, you see hanging on Naruto's wardrobe, you see his old Part 1 jacket. Kudos for the anime for remembering that. Yeah, this is probably the first that jacket's been seen since, excuse me, the tuning exam. Also, he picks a picture on the desk, and on the picture is, get this, himself in Part 1, along with Kiba, Neji, yeah, their parents were Neji, Rock Lee. It's pretty much most of the guys in Part 1, with the exception of Sasuke. Yeah, I think with the exception of Sasuke, all there. And surprisingly, the girls are not in the picture. I'm like, that's kind of weird. I would think that they include the girls in this picture, but nope. But it's great to see Part 1 still being acknowledged, which I thought was really good. Surprisingly, we haven't seen any pictures. We also see some pictures on Naruto's wall, which I do love these things. There's a drawing of Naruto and Hinata. It looked like it may have been drawn by Himawari. And this was fantastic. Love this. I think it's either Hinata or Himawari. I'm not sure. I can tell one is basically Naruto himself. It might be Hinata. I'm not sure. But I loved what they did with this. This is just great stuff. So the pictures shown in the actual episode itself was some pictures that have been seen previously in other episodes, which I like the fact they featured them again. Kudos, basically, for the anime for doing that. Yep. As you can tell, how I'm basically talking about this episode, I love this episode. It was just really, really good. Good bit. Oh yeah, they also have this little bit in where you have Naruto walking to his house. You actually see his legs and a little bit of his cloak. You might think it's in person, but no, it's just Naruto. Yeah, I love that bit. That was actually really good. Great camera work when it comes to this episode. Yeah. Everything about this episode is really good. Can't wait for next week. Even though it just looks like a very lame title episode. But the tease looks quite interesting to say the least. Though, in case you're curious, though, what is the name of next week's episode? It is called the Uzumaki Household. Yes, that is the name of the actual episode itself. Yep. But yeah, that's it for this particular review. And that's probably going to be it for this because I don't think I have any more I could do. I mean, I could do maybe complication. It might be handled a little bit later, but I just wanted to get this one done today, okay? See you next video. Bye.